Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise, and in this video I want to talk about the dilemma many people are facing right now when looking to invest in Sydney or Melbourne, or at least considering if now's the time to buy an investment property in Sydney and Melbourne. In fact, I think there are three things you need to consider if you're looking to invest in our two biggest markets. Why? Because over the last few months, we've seen a dramatic reversal of fortune in Sydney and Melbourne. Prices have certainly started to rise, especially in the premium suburbs, or the what I would call the A-grade suburbs of both Sydney and Melbourne, particularly Sydney. So the question you've got to be asking is, well, is now the time to buy in those one of those two markets? And so what I would say is ask yourself these three questions. Number one, can you afford it? Now, I know that seems so basic, right? I mean, God, of course, why would you even talk about that, Nero? Here's why. I was speaking to someone just yesterday who was looking to buy an off-the-plan unit in Melbourne. In fact, sorry, they put down their deposit already on an off-the-plan unit in Melbourne. And if you're following my work, you know what I think about buying off-the-plan units. But then, because the property didn't settle for at least a year, they were already looking to put a deposit on another property. And when I went through the numbers, I just had to say, whoa. Have you got a bank approval for any of this? He said, no, I think my income's good, I think I can afford it. And off he went, and he hadn't actually gone through the process of looking at the cash flow profile. He hadn't gone through the process of actually seeing if the banks would give him the money, and he wasn't taking on all this unnecessary risk. Okay, so I had to really slow him down. So the thing you need to ask yourself is, can you afford it? Both from a perspective, will the banks lend you the money? And number two, can you afford afford property from a cash flow profile? Okay, so that's the first question to ask. Second question to ask yourself is this: is buying a property in Sydney or Melbourne right for you and your financial goals? Here's what I mean. According to the Australian Tax Office, or the ATO, only 1%, probably less than 1% of all Australians end up with a property portfolio of 5 or 6 or more properties, a portfolio that can sustain them in retirement. Okay, so why would that be the case? Often it's because the way most people invest is they either don't invest until it's very late in the piece and then they don't want to miss out, so they jump in, or they just stick to properties in suburbs that they know around their local area. Okay, but they don't invest according to a proven plan, according to a strategy. And often one of the biggest things so many investors get wrong is they target capital growth, which is great and should always be the ultimate aim of all investing, yes, but they do so at the expense of cash flow. You see, there's no point getting a property that might rise in value significantly if it's costing you $1,000 or $1,500 a month, and that's an investment property. So that might be on top of the rent you're paying if you're renting a property, or your own mortgage if you've already got a mortgage, right? I mean, what's the point of having a property that's costing you so much? Sure, it's going up in value. Sure, you can make some money off that one property, but is that enough to meet your financial goals? If it is, great, but from my experience, it isn't for most people. So unless you're someone on a really high income who's maybe taking advantage of the tax benefits that come along with investing in property, not that should be your sole aim by any stretch of the imagination, you always want to be investing for wealth creation, but unless you have that high income to sustain the investment properties, you've got to ask yourself if building a portfolio that's heavily negatively cash flowed is going to be right for your plan and for your goals. And then number three, ask yourself if you truly believe that the prices in the suburbs that you're targeting, and I say suburbs, not cities, because I think individual suburbs are performing very differently across Sydney and Melbourne. So ask yourself if the suburb that you're targeting, are prices rising because there's significant wage growth, because there's infrastructure spend, because there's been a bit of a boom in population in that particular suburb, or you expect that will happen in the short to medium term? If you believe the answer is yes, then yeah, that might be a suburb to consider. But if the answer is no, if you believe that prices are only rising and it's a temporary rise because ultimately the only thing driving price rises in many areas is the fact that interest rates have dropped, and according to the Reserve Bank of Australia's recent announcements, they're all talking about those rate cuts stopping sometime in mid-2020. You've got to ask yourself, will prices keep rising after the rate cuts stop? If you believe the answer is yes, then again, it's another reason to invest. But if you don't believe that's the case, then you might want to reconsider. So this is the dilemma I think so many people are facing when looking to buy an investment property, not their own home, but an investment property. Is it ultimately right for your strategy, your goals, and your plans? You've got to look at the cash flow profile, you've got to look at the affordability, you've got to look at the capital growth potential as part of a whole portfolio, not just an individual property. So make sure you're getting some guidance, make sure you're investing according to a proven plan, and that you are moving forwards in a manner that's going to help you achieve your financial goals, not leave you in a situation where a few years down the track you regret making that investment decision. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you found this video valuable and you're thinking you might like my help to help you find an investment property, then head on over to nerocall.com to discover our unique 5-step process that's helped my private client group purchase now well over $66.2 million worth of property. And then if you like what you see, you can book in for a free half-hour phone consult with me personally. Either way, thanks again for watching.